Oh, it's great to see you, and thank you again for doing this.
Well, I don't know. I think like the more that we are visible, the more that people will also stick to what we need to do. You know what I mean? So in
Absolutely.
general, I'm kind of shy for those things. It's like it's hard for me sometimes to be visible, but I
Mhm.
have to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have to. There is no choice now.
Yeah. I really relate to that. I mean, I think I'm a college professor and I'm spending all my time primarily, trying to help students navigate this online learning situation. But because for my own work, I'm an oral historian. I've been trying to figure out some way to give back to everybody in this situation. So I was so grateful to find this opportunity to help with the Voces project, because I want to facilitate just that, people sharing their experiences. And it's been such a difficult time. So I totally agree.
It is, yeah. And especially, I think to me, it's even getting worse in the sense that, you know, it's a human being nature that we hate that we are social animals. So, of course, we love to kiss, to hug, to be together, to do things together, and it's part of being a human being. And there is a tendency to just try to go back to before COVID, which I feel it too, and we all feel it. And we get tired. We get tired because this situation is not what we like, and we don't feel comfortable like this. And it's very difficult. And so no one can say that anything that we are doing is easy at all. It's
Right.
very difficult. So I love to go back to normal tomorrow, tonight, in an hour, with a flip of my fingers.
Hmm.
But no one is asking us if we want to have this. No one has ever asked. Is something that has happened? Is a tragedy, and there is no way to go forward unless we continue doing what we are doing.
Right.
That's the way I see it, and I may be wrong because, like I said, this is new for everybody. We all, depending in our personal our knowledge first, then personal circumstances, and then personalities. We are taking some, different options, or but if we don't say anything, if I don't say anything, then I feel like I'm not serving what I need to. I'm not serving the society, the kids, the doctors in my clinic, um, personally, of course, my family,
Hmm.
and the whole. To me is even much more than just my immediate family and Elmhurst Hospital, Queens, New York, the United States. It's the whole world.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't know. I don't want to make a big, but that's the way I feel.
Right.
Uh, so even though I'm shy and I have many, I'm not, look at my accent, look at my, I'm not like the best person that can be out there saying what's happening. But I have to make an effort. I have to just stand myself, and um, I will not live with myself. I cannot look at myself in the mirror if I don't,
Right.
honestly, you know.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm doing it.
I'm so glad. Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I know it'll be so great for the project too. Um, so you've already shared some really helpful and interesting stuff. And so I feel like we might as well just begin the interview process so I can just
Mhm.
have it all included as part of your story. So we start with this thing called a preamble, because normally in oral history interviewing, we'd be sitting face to face and I would have you sign something kind of showing that you have informed consent about the project, just like you would, in a healthcare setting or something. So because we're all virtually, we're doing this remotely, we do it on the recording. Um, You can hear me okay through the microphone?
Perfect.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
I do. How about you?
Um,
Can you hear me well?
I can hear you great, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so today is Friday, September 18th of 2020, and my name is Natalie or Tasha Kimball, and I am interviewing Pilar Gonzalez for the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. Please know that this interview will be placed in the Nettie Lee Benson Latin American Collection at the University of Texas at Austin. If there's anything that you don't wish to answer or to talk about, that's absolutely fine. I will honor your wishes. And also, if there's something that you do want to talk about, please bring it up and we will talk about it. Because we're not conducting this interview in person, I need to record you consenting. So I'm going to ask you a series of 5 questions, and please just say, yes, I agree, or no, I do not agree after each one. And there's 2 questions we ask at the beginning that we need to make sure that you agree to before we can go on. So the first is that Voces wishes to archive your interview along with anything that you might wish to include here, so like photographs or documentation of any kind, at the Benson Library at the University of Texas at Austin. We retain copyright of the interview and other materials that you donate to Voces. Do you give Voces consent to archive your interview and your materials at the Benson Library?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you grant Voces copyright over the interview and any material that you provide?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you agree to allow us to post the interview on the internet where it may be viewed by people around the world?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Excellent. And so the other few questions, and sorry for the awkwardness as I read from this format. We have many questions in the pre-interview form that we already filled out the other day on the phone, and we use that information from the pre-interview form to help and assist in research. The entire form is kept in a secure server at Voces. And before we send it to the Benson, we typically strip out any contact information for yourself or family members that you have provided, so it's not part of your public file. Only your public file is accessible at the Benson Library. But do you wish for us to share the rest of your interview in your public file available to researchers at the Benson?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And then the final question is about access to journalists. And it says, on occasion, Voces receives requests from journalists who wish to contact our interview subjects. We only deal with legitimate news outlets. Would you like to give consent for us to share your phone number or your email with journalists?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. Okay, so now we can get into the meat of the project. And the first thing that we just like to ask, recognizing that things have been so difficult lately, what are you turning to in your life today that's bringing you joy on a day-to-day basis?
Basically, what brings me joy is my family, like personal contacts, like my immediate family. And then, like, especially when I see my mother that is going to be on Monday, 92 years old. And she is like the matriarch now of this big group of adults and children in Zoom every weekend. And I see her courage. You know what I mean? I see how she, in the face of all of this and all the pain and suffering that she has going and is going through, she doesn't give up. She stands up strong and she does it for us. So it just makes me also feel that I have to do at least a little bit what she is doing. Her pain and suffering is worse than mine.
Yeah.
And like I admire her so much.
Where is your mom located right now?
Oh, my mom is in her town and my town, the town that I was born in, which is like it's a town like an hour and a half from Madrid. And she lives there in the same house that I was born in. I think she was born in that house too. Yes. And she lives there. My sister lives there too, and my older brother, and the 3 of them are kind of in the town looking and watching the news, hoping for some of my other brothers that live in Madrid to be able to visit her and, contacting me almost on a daily basis and just checking on everybody, kind of like a doctor doing rounds and checking that everyone is okay. That's what she does.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you said your town, remind me of the name of your town. I don't have the pre-interview form that we did in front of me. Is it Alcázar or?
Alcázar is the town next to mine. Mine is a smaller town. The name is Herencia.
Oh, Herencia, right.
In English will be inheritance. And I guess that's the way that the town started being built. And I believe back in the 17th century.
Okay.
Mhm.
Wow. And what has the COVID experience been like for them in terms of how long have they been quarantined and what does that look like for them?
Well, look, they started the quarantine in March, and it was a very strict quarantine for like about 2 months, meaning that even cities like Madrid, an hour and a half from my town, they couldn't move. Actually, it was very strictly imposed by the government. There were police on the roads asking people that were driving their cars why were they driving and where were they going, and they needed a special pass to be able to move from town to town.
Mm-hmm.
Movements were very implemented, and also there were fines, big fines. I mean, you are talking about 400 euros, which is about $500 if you were in the streets when you should not. Now, then they opened and they were able, but progressively for certain things. And right now, they are in a situation that there are some areas in Madrid, in the south part of Madrid, that are actually being also kind of closed and unable to, people unable to move. But then it's it's not homogeneous at all, because then there are other areas that people are gathering and especially for something that they call el botellón, meaning like going out at night, especially young people, and having parties and things like that. So it's kind of sad what's going on, because the numbers are rising rapidly. The number of hospital beds occupied by COVID are increasing, and the number of ICU beds are also increasing rapidly in Madrid again.
Oh no.
So it's very scary.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we talked about this a little bit the other day, but I would love it if you could walk us through a bit of where you're from again originally, and how it was that you came to live where you do now and do the type of work that you do now.
Uh-huh. Well, look, my town is a very small town. It's like 7,000 people. And I did my elementary school there. Then I got a scholarship by the government, and I went to a larger city where my boarding school was. And I was there for 4 years. That was my high school. And then from there, I went to medical school in the town next to, it was one of the towns closer to the town that I did my high school. Finished medical school. I got married with my husband, that at the time wasn't even American. My husband is from Africa, from Liberia. And he had been living here in the United States since he was 8 years old, and went to study to Spain for something kind of completely bizarre. There was a military coup in Liberia, coup d'etat, in 1980, the same year that we studied medicine. His father was like the dean of the medical school in Liberia. And his mother and father were divorced. They divorced when he was 8 years old, and that's the reason that he came here to the United States. My husband with my mother-in-law. And then they were thinking in going back to Liberia and continued living there, when my husband's dream was to study medicine with his father in Liberia.
Okay.
Then the military coup d'etat happened, and he couldn't go to Liberia. Basically, his family and friends had to flee the country. So he looked for another place because he had not taken the MCATs or prepared to do medical school in the United States. So he looked for another option. And one of the options was to go to Europe to study medicine. And he ended up in Spain. And we met the first day in medical school. We sat next to each other. Yeah. And at the time, Spain was very different from the way that is now. Spain was a country that racially very homogeneous. They were not people, I mean, you will have to go to Madrid or to Barcelona, to one big city to see people of other races and other cultures. Everyone was basically the same. So of course, you know, when he went there, everyone was kind of looking at him and wanted to be, you know, his friend because he was the different one, you know. So, and I guess I got it. It was the times, they were the times of discotheque, you know, the Bee Gees, you know, Donna Summer, all of these, you know, 1980. And it was, they were very, you know, we had a lot of, and I, you know, he borrowed my class notes and, you know, someone had to help him. His Spanish was kind of limited. So, you know, we really, you know, paired together, and then we started our relationships a few months afterwards, after meeting and being friends for a few months, and that's it. That was our story, and here we are.
Wow. So when did you make the decision then to go to the US after you met in Spain?
Well, you know, knowing him and being curious about the United States and you know, like curiosity and interest about doing something different, going to a different society. And at the same time, the situation in Spain was, in terms of work conditions, there was a lot of unemployment. 1986, when we finished medical school, the rate of unemployment was huge. And we'll say, okay, so you know what, one thing and the other made it to the point that I said, okay, let's go and embark in the adventure of coming to the United States. And that, I mean, I had a lot of problems because my English was, I say, inexistent. At the time, you know, being from a small town and English and any language other than Spanish literacy was very poor at the time, not just me, but in general, it's very different, the situation now. But I said, okay, I'm coming, I'm doing it, and here we are.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you or your husband already have connections to New York? How was it that you ended up in New York?
No, because my husband lived in New York since he was 8 years old until, I mean, basically until he went to Spain to study medicine. And his mother, my mother-in-law, lived here in New York. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
So it was just a natural thing. Let's go back to New York. We had to take some tests. He did it. I did it too. I took an extra year because, of course, I had problems with language. And there was some kind of, it was called ECFNG, that was like a foreign medical graduates. We had to take some tests to kind of demonstrate our knowledge in medicine, okay? Mm-hmm. And that we had to compete for positions in the United States after we took these tests. And that's what I did. I was 1 year basically studying English and preparing for these tests. And then I was able to go through and apply for a residency position and started here at Elmhurst Hospital as a resident. And then we both stay here. Elmhurst felt from the very beginning like home for me because I saw so many, the patients, they really needed people speaking Spanish. They really related to me so well. And I felt so useful being here and being able to help, you know. So that was the main reason that I stay at Elmhurst Hospital. And my husband too, because my husband is perfectly bilingual right now. I mean, he did study medicine in Spain in Spanish. So he can talk, read, write in Spanish, and he's very good at it. So also he felt very useful here. And look, this is a great hospital. We are affiliated with Mount Sinai, and also being part of health and hospitals to me is very important too. Look, I'm coming from a country that healthcare is universal. I'm coming from a country that you get cancer or you get a fatal disease and you don't get broke.
Right.
Your health is covered, is a right. The same right that you have to go to school, you have the same right for your health, just because you're a human being. That's it.
Right.
And it's just, you know, being in health and hospitals and being in a public hospital is just close to my heart. It's like, that's the way I understand medical care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even now, after so many years here, I still don't get it.
Yeah. Some of us who were raised here don't get it either.
I mean, and being a country, I mean, one of the richest countries in the world,
Yeah.
how can you tell me that you cannot pay for healthcare?
Right. Yeah. So walk me back to either earlier this year or maybe late last year, and tell me about the moment that you started to realize that this COVID pandemic was going to be a big deal. What did that feel like to you?
I started feeling like that, particularly in January. I mean, in December, you heard about this and all of, but it was kind of far. But then in January, I said, oh my God, this is really, really a big, huge deal. In February already, everyone, we were all very, very uncomfortable. We knew it was coming here. I was thinking, how can it be that New York, with the amount of visitors that we get, I mean, we have two huge airports, in particular here in Queens. Mm-hmm. We have in close to Elmhurst Hospital. I mean, you know, LaGuardia is right here. You know, it's 15 minutes from the hospital, and JFK is what, half an hour, or maybe not even half an hour. And I was saying, how can it be that we are not getting anyone? Because of course, you know, flights with China were banned, but anyone from China could go any other country and then come here to begin with. And then we started, it was in Europe. And then of course, if it was unbelievable. I couldn't believe that we didn't have cases. And actually it was a feeling, and of course, we know what happened later on, but I think everyone knew that it wasn't real, that we were not getting cases. It's just that it took a time for us to be able to have the emergency rooms full of people, to have the floors full of, and the ICUs. It really took a few weeks to build, but we knew it was here from before. And me in particular, because Europe went a few weeks before we went on, I knew that, and I followed the news in both countries, newspapers and even, you know, news on TV. And I was even more scared, I think, than other people, because I was seeing what was happening there, the same way that I see it now. And when I see what's happening now in Madrid and in Barcelona, and I see, okay, careful. Because 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, they were like we are here right now. Okay? Right. And I want to believe that we are stronger in a way that I see people seriously taking and following the rate of spread of COVID in the community. This is what gives me more confident than anything else. The number of tests that we are doing here in New York, and how closely we are following. Even here in my hospital, we have a testing center, and we know daily what is the percentage of positives that we are getting, and what is the average, 7-day average. And we, I mean, it gives me a sense of security. We have plans already. We have created every department. What are we gonna do when the level goes to 3%? What are we gonna do if it goes to 5%? What are we doing if it goes to 10? I mean, to me, I mean, and we don't know what's gonna happen when schools open, and we don't know. I have 9 schools around the hospital. So I don't know if there's going to be a closing of a class here and another class in a different school and another class, if it's going to be scattered, or if in 2 weeks I'm going to have 2 schools, full schools closed, in which case I'm going to have a surge of people coming here because they're going to want their kids to be checked and tested and all of this. I don't know what's going to happen, you know, but at least I know I'm predicting what am I going to do when it happens.
Right.
Though I don't know what is going to be the behavior of, because also we had the same thing in April and March, and the hospital in terms of pediatrics was empty. So what is it going to be? Is it going to be a surge of patients coming, pediatric patients coming in? Is it going to be that people are going to, because of course we're going to tell them to come when they need medical attention and for testing, you know, but it's still a question in my mind, okay? Right. I know we went through this once, we can go again, and we are ready if we need to.
Yeah. Well,
and we're watching, you know, in April and March, we didn't know anything. We didn't know it was even in the community, or we didn't want to, I think we closed our eyes. We didn't want to know that it was, but it makes sense to know that it was from the very beginning.
Right. Right. Well, and about that, I wanted to ask if you could walk me through a bit what your daily work looked like prior to COVID, and then how that changed once the COVID wave really hit.
Well, look, we turned the clinic upside down. Okay, my not just but in general, what we were doing in the clinic, we are open 6 days a week. We open at 8 in the morning. Monday to Thursday, we close at 8 p.m. Fridays, we close at 5. Saturdays, we open in the morning. Suddenly, we close the evening clinics on the Saturdays. And what we do is that we have to recall all the patients that we have appointments with, and we convert the visits into televisits. And we let the ones that are absolutely necessary for us, like the babies that need vaccinations. From the very beginning, we said, we really need to see those kids. We need to give vaccinations, because if we don't vaccinate them, guess what's going to happen? We're going to have research of other illnesses like measles, for example. And I was so afraid, look, we cannot just wait and don't vaccinate them. Of course, everyone that is sick, you have to see the sick. This is a hospital. This is a clinic, you know. So then other things, let's say I gave you an appointment because you were overweight, or you were obese, or because you have asthma, and I want to see how you are doing. Continuity for chronic illnesses. Let's do it through a televisit. And that's what we did. On top of that, we wanted to talk to our patients because we wanted to give them instructions for COVID, in terms of they may have been fine, but someone in the family was sick, and sometimes that's what happened. You know, we were calling and we found the whole family. I mean, you were talking with mommy was coughing on the phone, and you were listening to the other kids and the husband coughing in the background, and they didn't know what to do. Many of our patients are undocumented immigrants, okay? Sometimes we call them for positive COVID results, because that's another thing that we collaborated with, because many of our patients were not coming to the hospital. We offer our help to the city to call positive patients that had come to the testing center and they had positive results. We had to let them know, and we have to give them instructions in how they had to quarantine, and how they had to isolate, and what are the things that they had to do to prevent it for passing to other members of the family. Imagine, many of our families, they are maybe in a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment, and in each of the bedrooms, there is a family living in one bedroom. I mean, oh, let me see, I lost it. I'm sorry. Do you,
I can still hear you.
yeah, I do, but, okay. I think that's it, back. So, you know, it was very, very difficult. And sometimes we were calling people and they were working. And they were telling you, doctor, I cannot stay home and isolate myself because then I have 2 kids and my wife, and I just can't. I just can't. And I mean, I don't think me or anybody else have lived this situation before, where you really feel that there is so limited what you can do, you know. And then in the hospital, look, communication was very, very important. We really needed to communicate with the other departments because we were deploying people from one department to another. Like I said, I mean, our pediatric floor was empty. Our pediatric emergency room empty. People didn't even dare to come to the emergency room. They had to, the few that came because they really found that there was no other way to do it. And I believe they were going to other emergency rooms also and urgent cares, because Elmhurst Hospital was the hospital for COVID. It was the epicenter of COVID. So they didn't want to come. So we collaborated with other departments. And then another thing that I did, because I don't know if I told you, but through the time that my father and my brother were sick in the hospital, they also had the same problems in terms of communicating with families, like the natural way to do it. There was no families allowed in the hospitals. So the only way to communicate with the family was through phone calls and then later on videos. But the problem was that there was no time for the doctors and nurses to call the families because their hands were full taking care of patients that were dying, you know. So sometimes families will go days without knowing about their loved ones, okay? And that was real. I had never seen anything like that. Not me, not anybody, okay? And so when, in particular, my sister-in-law left the hospital crying when my brother was admitted, she begged one of the doctors to please give her a phone number. She told him, look, my sister-in-law is in New York, and I begged you to please give me some kind of telephone or line that she could call you and get information about my husband. And they did. And then, you know, we started in a routine that every day before coming to the hospital to work, and imagine that there is 6 hours difference. So in order for me, I was calling very early, 6 in the morning. There was 12 noon to get information about my brother, and then calling my family and giving them the information that I was getting, then my father also. So that gives me the idea that we needed a way to communicate with families. And at the same time, the hospital was overwhelmed with phone calls. The lines of the hospital of families asking for their loved ones. And they couldn't just, you know, transfer the call to the floor that the patient was admitted, because no one was answering the phone call on the floor because everyone was working desperately, okay? They had to the phone, you know. So we said, okay, let's do something about it. So I created 2 different systems for communicating with the families. And look, I have it here. I named this. Well, my people in my department did it for me. Let me put it like that. You see?
Yeah, JG Family Center.
Yes. This is, my father was Jose Gonzalez. My brother was Jesus Gonzalez. And the first day that we put this center to work was the following day after my brother passed, okay? And then it was like a line of phones that, families will call, and then I had like 2, 3, 4 people, depending of the time on the day, because there were times during the day that there was a higher demand. And I have volunteer doctors, nurses, residents from the hospital, from other institutions, from other departments, that they will just look at the medical records of their loved ones, and they will talk with the family to give them the information that was, of course, documented in the medical record. And then that was the hotline. And then I had another part of the center that was adopting a floor. And the adopt a floor is that every day, let's say I had a team of people, like 30 people, that will be like, this is my floor. In the floor, I have 10 beds, for example, and they will review every day these 10 patients. They will look at, what happened, and that happened mostly in the afternoons after the rounds were made until, and they will call the families, the emergency contact of the patient. They will call them and tell them updates about their loved ones.
Wow.
And it was very dear to me, because it was like you suddenly are part of the family, and they are waiting for your call every day, and they know you, and they know you by your first name, and you know them also. And it was something that not just me, that actually, Amina, of course, but everyone that participated, they loved the way that make them feel, because in pediatrics, what happened in particular, and other services that they volunteer, because I had ophthalmologists, dermatologists, rehab doctors, people that actually suddenly they didn't have patients and they wanted to be useful and do something. Some of them were on the floors, acting like interns for other, specialists, like, of course, there was like an ICU doctor in charge, but maybe had with the team people from other departments that they were acting like residents, because it was not their expertise, but they were offering their hands and everything that they could give for the patients, okay? And they also were with me in these programs, and they felt that they were doing something good. They felt rewarded. And also, we need to communicate with our patients too. They need to communicate with us, and vice versa. Okay. So I think now it was a lot of, we work without stopping for weeks and months, because you were doing that 7 days a week, not just, and sometimes you started in the morning and you will keep on working non-stopping until you go to sleep. And it was not just me, but the majority of people working with me. We worked non-stopping. I never seen anything like that. And people just offering, you know what I mean? I think the way I saw what happened, the way I felt it, is that everybody did the best that they could do as a human being. That's when, that's when you can talk and see who is who, you know what I mean? Who's generous and really do things because they really want to help. And that's what they are here for. And it's a big, big, big lesson that we all have,
And your volunteers for the call center, were these people that you already managed on your team?
Well, some of them, yes, but others were not. Others I just met through the center, because they just came to me and said, look, I know you're doing that. I want to do it. I want to participate, and then we had like a volunteer center also, and they received people that wanted to help. And they said, do you want to work with that, with this center? Do you want to work with Dr. Gonzalez? And they say, yes, and they would just show up in my clinic, in my office, and that's it. And immediately I just find a place for them to work. And look, all hands were needed. We needed more and more. I mean, the more the better, because then they could call faster. The time waiting for the call will be lower if you had more people working, managing the calls. I mean, we had daily, the number of calls that we had, more than 300 calls for patients calling us just to ask for their loved ones. And then on top of that, all the calls that we did the other way around, us calling them, and the number of calls were equal to the number of patients admitted in the hospital. Wow. So you are talking about close to 1,000 calls daily that the center managed on those days.
Wow. So I know you've talked about this a little bit. I was wondering if you could tell us a bit more. We're interested in the impact of COVID on people's families, and you suffered a really incredible, difficult loss. And I was just wondering if you could share a bit more about what that was like in terms of how you found out that your relatives were ill, and hospitalized, and what that process was like, as much as you feel comfortable with.
Mm-hmm. Look, I remember March 8 because 3 of my brothers that live in Madrid came to my town, worried about, they knew that Madrid was going to be closed, in quarantine. They knew they were not going to be able to travel. So they said, okay, let's go and visit mommy and daddy before this happens. And I remember I called. Facebook is my savior. So I called and I saw them, and I was kind of in a way lecturing them, and like we are many, and each one had their own opinion about, but in general, it was like I was exaggerating. I was, too worried. I was, because also at the time in Spain, the politicians, and they were kind of telling the population that it was not such a big deal. As a matter of fact, there was a march in Madrid and in many towns about women, it was related to it was on, this was a Sunday, and the march in the whole country were on Monday. And they were trying to convince people that it was okay. Even the Minister of Health was saying that he will allow his child to go to the march, and encouraging people to do it. And I was telling them, please, please don't even think about going to any of those. This is crazy. There were already a lot of patients, not in terms of hundreds, but they were like cases in the community that had been admitted in different places of the country. So when the spread is in the community, you don't have it controlled. It's everywhere. And there were thousands of people marching, no mask, no nothing, because at the time, it was before there was acknowledged that there was a problem with COVID in the country. That was the 8th. My brothers, 3 of my brothers, and my father got sick the following week. Okay? That was the 8th. My brother got sick on Friday. After that, Sunday, my father got sick the following week on Monday. Okay? My brother got sick on Friday, was admitted on Saturday. Okay? And it was just one after the other. Actually, the country the following day, after the marchings of women's rights. The next day, they recognized that the problem was huge. And I believe I was so stressed on those days. I don't exactly remember when they just quarantined the whole population and closed the cities. I don't remember exactly when was it. I do remember when they got sick from that call on March 8th. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Mm.
Tell me a bit about your children. You said your children are adults and grown.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How have their lives been impacted by this whole situation?
Well, look, I think in general, we are all sad. We are also, like as a family, we used to go to Spain once or twice a year. My kids are very close to, because my husband, I mean, he has half brothers and sisters and he loves them very much, but they didn't grow up together. So, my kids, like his, my nieces and nephews we are very close together. Like my kids now, they go to Spain and they have, like they call cousins trips. Like they spend, they get an Airbnb in Sevilla, and they go and they get together. They are like, they go a group of 10 or 12, and they have fun together. They enjoy their company. And of course, it didn't happen. We don't know when it's going to happen again. And more than that, my kids love my father and my brother. I love all my brothers and they love all their cousins. But my brother was special because he was a giving person. He would always be the first one taking care of the rest. There was nothing that happened in the family that my brother wasn't in the middle of it because of his generosity, and I think in general I see them sad. I see them, they are very careful with everything. I have one of them in Manhattan. The second one, he's studying medicine. He's a 4-year medical student, and they take a COVID test before coming home. I have the little one is in Maryland. He's working in the NIH. He's doing research, and he doesn't want to come. He's afraid. I see them very cautious, which is good. I'm not complaining about that. But when I see other kids of their same age, I don't see them as concerned or as worried or as precautious as my kids are. My daughter, she's already, she's 35 years old, and she's also very, very worried, very conscientious. She's also very emotional, and of course there is no replacement for her losses, and I'm so happy in a way and so proud of them because they're helping us so much. They are the center of my joy, and they are always thinking, how are you doing? They are not putting themselves, they are taking us, me, my husband, my mother-in-law. They are very worried about my mother-in-law because she is already 89 years old. She has very limited mobility. Of course, they know she's high risk. So they want to protect all of us as much as they can. And very responsible and very caring. They have helped us so much, and they keep on helping us. Mm-hmm. Me and my husband. That's the best thing I ever did, my kids. Yeah. Yes.
They sound fantastic.
They are. Yeah.
Was your family able to do anything as a memorial for your losses?
No, we didn't. And that's another thing. I don't think I don't know how to say bye-bye. And I don't think I can learn because uh, I guess I'm gonna be a person that never says bye-bye. That's all.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Are
Yeah.
there other areas of your life, things that maybe we haven't touched on, whether life in your community or at the church you mentioned you sometimes go to, or uh, we have, union participation. Some people are into that, or community organizations or schools, things that you feel like you want to talk about that have been impacted by this situation in your experience.
Kind of still not. I'm not going to church. I have a lot of problems with religiosity right now. I don't think I don't know. I'm in a situation I don't feel comfort. And maybe I don't have strong faith or good enough, or it's just the way I feel. I don't feel I can get it can help me anyway. You know, maybe I'm just mad with God,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. Um, and I don't even feel that I want to investigate more on that. You
Sure.
know.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like your family has been a tremendous support through all of this,
Mm-hmm.
the way that you all have supported each other.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what other things would you like to share with us about your experience during this whole time?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't know. um, I don't know. I don't know what else can I be. Could it be interesting to others of my experience of what I have done? I think I just um, couldn't just look back or stay. And the best way that I had to handle what was going on was to keep on moving, keep busy. Like there was nothing that could calm me down or help me.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of that, I just tried to do things that I had never done before. I had never, like, for example, I did write an article about immunization for kids that was published, and I had never done anything like that. I just tried to do new things that could keep my mind and my soul and my energy focus on something, so I didn't have to focus so much in what was my personal reality,
Mm-hmm.
which is well, maybe it's not that good. Maybe I need some time to heal after that and really see and look. But what benefit can I find on looking and just meditating about my feelings?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I mean, I I don't, and I understand psychologically that you need to really talk about or look or focus in your feelings and your needs. But what good can it make? All I can get is sadder and sadder. You know what I mean? Like when I'm working, sometimes my work days are better than my weekends
Mm-hmm.
because while I'm working, I'm busy. And on the weekend, when I sit down, is when, oh my God, you know what I mean? I have these feelings of sadness
Mm-hmm.
that I have to just do something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess one day at a time, you know, whatever will be, will be. And like I said, I'm happy, and I'm so blessed with my family that if they see something, they will tell me, okay, mommy, that's it, stop it. Well, one good thing that I did, you know what I did? I got one of these inflatable jacuzzis in my backyard. Yeah, I got it. And look, it was like one thing that I said, okay, now I'm gonna get in the jacuzzi and I'm not gonna think on anything. I'm just gonna relax here 20 minutes, and you know, and for a while it gave me some, pleasure, and now not that much anymore. Thanks God that I didn't do the big expense and bought a real jacuzzi and installation and all of this, because now I don't enjoy it that much. I mean, I'm done with that. I mean, it was like just the first few months, but
Right.
that was something that I did.
Right.
Yeah.
But those little day-to-day things, I think, can be helpful. I feel like I run. I wasn't a runner that much before the COVID, but now I run a lot. I think it's anxiety,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. That's a good thing. I'm too old for that now. I used to run also, like maybe 20 years ago around Forest Hills. I live in Forest Hills,
Hmm.
and the high school used to have a track that was open to the public, to the neighborhood. Not anymore. And I used to run there, but then we had the encephalitis, the Nile well encephalitis, and it started right there in Forest Hills, and
Oh,
I stopped, and then I never went back to run anymore. Yeah.
yeah. And you said before that you're not really sure what's going to happen in the fall in terms of numbers and how that's going to impact us, particularly pediatrics, and that's related to the schools. Is it true that the schools have not made any determination for sure what schools are going to be in person and what's going to happen virtually? Is that
Well,
part of what's going to impact you?
no, they are already trying to organize, and then many schools are giving choices to the parents if they want to do it in person or if they want to do it virtually. Depending also in they are suggesting, especially depending in the age of kids, like younger kids or kids with disabilities need to be having more in person. I don't think they're forcing anybody. They are letting people choose. Now, the patients that I take care of, sometimes there is not really a choice, because if you have to work and you don't have anyone to take care of the kids, what choice do you have? A choice is something that just, some of us could have a choice, but not everybody has a choice.
Absolutely, because of the economic situation, for sure.
You're a single mother.
Mm-hmm.
You are, you know what I mean? And you have to support your family. You cannot do virtual work, and how are you going to have your kids? How are you going to have a 9 years old at home doing virtual what if you have to work?
Mm-hmm.
Have no choice, you know.
Yeah.
It's And I think now they're in a better position. They were going to open all the schools on Monday, but then some schools are not as well prepared as others. And again, the schools that are in poorer neighborhoods, they do have less support, and they have more needs, and they don't even have books, actual books. What do you think is going to happen with, like the air systems, the
Yeah.
distancing, all of these? They need money, and not all the schools are in the same situation, especially in poor areas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they just try to gain some time, and some of the schools are going to open on the 29th, and other grades are going to open. It's going to be a staggering in the opening of the school in terms of grades. And let's see what happened next week, because this week it was a battlefield for them, for the Department of Education, in particular here in Queens, but in all New York, okay? And hopefully next week we'll be in a better position. But like I said, I mean, there are many people that don't have a choice.
Right.
They, you know.
And your department, how do you, what have you done to sort of prepare for whatever might come?
Well, look, like I said, we have made a plan based on the community. I just have to go back to based on the spread in the community, we have made a plan, you know, like phase or 0, which is right now, okay? Now, phase 1, when we get to 3% or higher, 3% to 5% on spread in the community, what are we gonna do in terms of, we're gonna increase the number of nurses that are responding to the telephone. We are increasing the number of doctors that are taking care of sick visits. We are then, if that happens, the schools are closed, we are going to, instead of seeing in-person visits for all ages, we are just going to limit it to maybe the first 5 years of life, which are the kids that are in more need to come, because also they need immunizations, they are growing. There is a time that we are diagnosing things like developmental delays, things like that. Of course, everyone that needs to come, doesn't matter how old they are, but like as a rule, like a preference, okay? Then if it goes to 5 or higher than 5% of spread in the community, instead of just doing all up to 5 years of age, we're gonna do it up to 18 months, which are the primary immunizations. Then if it's more than that, more than 10, we'll just stick with the first year of life, which is really, really very important, and we need to see them. And then, of course, at the same time, converting visits on televisits. And now we are including video visits too, which is something that we hope that is gonna give us a better, a much more complete visit than just a telephone televisit. We're gonna be able to see the kids virtually, and hopefully, and doing all of these things, it will help us to maintain control. Of course, not just the hospital, this is a public safety thing. So whatever is decided or done in the community is finally what's gonna keep us safer. It's not us, but we are ready to respond to whatever is happening in the community. That's the difference when what happened in March.
Right. The last question I'd like to ask is how you feel. So we talked a little bit about how you feel a lot of personal sympathy with the protests that are going on. So it's a difficult time politically too. And I wanted to leave some space for you to reflect on how you're feeling about the upcoming election and how you see these various issues as being connected, some of the political issues and the COVID situation. And
look, I'm a Democrat, and I do think there are 2 pillars in every society. One is education, and the other one is health. Mm-hmm. A society cannot progress without these 2 big pillars being responded to. And the benefit to the society is much more than what we have to, the inversion, economical inversion on those 2 things. I mean, it really brings it back to you multiplied by so many, okay? And I don't see any progress. No society can progress without these 2. Said that, then I don't think that's nothing to do with being in the right or on the left. And I'm gonna tell you something more. In Spain, my family, you know the Civil War.
Sure.
You're a historian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Franco.
Mm-hmm. Do you know that my family, in both sides of the family, it was the men my two grandparents were killed in the Civil War. And they were not killed because they were soldiers. They were in the town. But civil wars made it that it doesn't matter if you are good or bad or what is your personality, you suddenly belong to a group or the other group. Yeah. And my family happened to have vineyards and olive trees. In Spain, in the Civil War, you were either part of the owners of the land or you were part of the workers of the land. Mm-hmm. So my family happened to be there. They were not rich or anything, but they didn't work for others. Mm-hmm. They worked for themselves, and they had also people working for them. So they were killed just for that. They were detained, they were taken to the country in the middle of the night, and a bullet in their head. My father's family, it wasn't just his father, it was 4 other brothers and his father. They were exterminated, all the men in the family, 5 of them the same night. That happened. So I have a hard time being leftist in Spain because I cannot. And of course, in the last years, there is been, and it's hard to talk about this internationally because all the propaganda is being against, though sometimes I've seen some people already writing and making movies about how it was half of the country against the other half of the country, and they were good and bad and in the middle in every side of it. Yeah. Said that, I have no problem recognizing Franco as a dictator. I was a child and he died when I was 13, but I already saw things. And then of course, you know, I have friends from all the different spectrum of politics and you know, I'm very liberal in many ways. Mm-hmm. So this is there. So I know what communism is. And I know, and it has nothing to do with what I hear in the United States talking about Biden. I said, what the hell are they thinking? This is not communism at all. Right. I mean, every country that is wealthy enough to pay for a health system in the world is doing it, except for the United States. What are we doing? I mean, this is not communism. In Spain, most of the colleges are public colleges. You don't have to pay and spend $200,000 to get an education, you know, and it just benefits the society as a whole, you know. It's not just the individual. Mm-hmm. I'm so proud when I see in my town people that maybe the grandparents didn't know how to, or barely knew how to read and write. And now their kids are doctors and lawyers. Mm-hmm. And it makes me feel so proud. I said, look, this is what advancement in the society is. This is what it is. And I'm all for that because I see that firsthand. Yeah. So, like I say, when you compare and when you see, don't necessarily go together. Sure. So I'm a firm Democrat here. I like Bernie a lot. Yeah. And, you know, and then I'm going to show you a picture of my family.
Oh, great.
This is a picture. We were in a cruise. Look at this.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I learned so much about racism in the United States.
Yeah.
And I keep on learning because I don't think you ever finished. It is to me very painful. And of course, because like I tell people sometimes, I said, look, I'm Black too. And actually, you know what happened to me? That was like 3 weeks ago in Long Island. I was in a restaurant. We were in a restaurant outdoors. And I had to, you know, I had never kind of, because sometimes I don't want to make people feel, I don't want to provocate or make people react to me. But I made an exception, me and my husband, and we bought online this Black Lives Matter t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'm gonna wear it today. And we did both wear it. We were outside and I had to go to the bathroom. So going through the bathroom, I passed by the bar, and in Long Island, people can be at the bar indoors. So, there was this couple there. And to make a story short, the lady looked at me and raised the eyes to me, but I just kept on walking to the bathroom. When I came out, both of them were looking at me, kind of like, they're gonna, and I just was telling myself, just keep on walking, not faster that you will go, not slower, just keep on walking. So when I passed by the lady, she goes and asks me, do you care about your children? Like this. And in a normal situation, I would not even answer anyone asking me any, but they were looking at me from the beginning, kind of with their eyes in an inquisitory way. So I said, yes, I do have 3 kids. And she goes, so their life don't matter to you? I said, of course, their lives matter to me. And I want you to know something. My kids are Black and I'm Black too. And then she started saying, I don't know how it went, because it was like so uncomfortable. And it was just a few sentences of crossing in the conversation. Like, I don't even remember what came after that. But what I know is that the owner of the place came to me and asked me to leave.
Oh.
Can you believe it?
Oh, that's horrible.
He asked me to leave.
And to ask you instead of that couple.
Yeah, because I was the one with the Black Lives Matter t-shirt.
Right.
Ugh. It was never in my life anything like that happened. Now I have other friends in Long Island, and we communicate. We have our group in WhatsApp and all of this, and knowing that some of them have, like they belong to groups and organizations, like his wife sells houses and all of these, and they were going to kind of broadcast it. And I did put a comment in Yelp telling them, everyone, about my experience and how, because he was saying, well, they were just, they were not attacking you. It was just, they were insulting you. And I told, that was the owner afterwards, because he came after that. I left. We were going to leave already. It was just these times that you go to the bathroom because you're leaving. And then he sent someone else to talk to me and my husband, trying to, put things down. But I wasn't going to talk to anybody else. I saw him looking and I asked him to come. And he told me that. And I said, look, they insulted me, but you attacked me.
Yeah.
When you decided that I was the one, I just wanted to just finish the conversation, and just for the not to become something violent. I said, well, if that's what you wanted to do, you attack me with what you did. They're still in the bar. And I don't want to be here, but I want, and as I was coming out, there were other groups of people there. And I did tell them, look, I was just asked to leave because of this t-shirt. I couldn't help it. Because some of them were brown and Black. And I said, what are we doing here? Giving this guy our money, you know what I mean? And I just felt that I had to tell them, and I did.
Good for you. It takes a lot of courage too. Ugh. What an awful
so that's the situation right now. So, and I feel so bad, because when you it's not just for me, because like I said, me and my husband, we are adults already, we can take care, and my kids can take care of themselves too, but it's so sad that they have to live in you see, and like my kids, we were always, my husband and I, very kind of not strict, but we expected from my kids the best. We never expected them to shy for difficulties. We wanted them from the beginning in their education. We were the type of parents that it was their obligation to finish their homework, and there was no bats. And my husband in particular, if some of them got a 95%, my husband will have joking, half real, saying, "And what is the other 5%?" That was the, so they always were very good students, hardworking, and responsible. And um, uh, they suffered, and I didn't see it all the time. And sometimes, especially my daughter, like the first one, less, and then you learn more and more and more. And I became better towards the, through the years that they were young, But especially maybe not knowing. And my husband also has this personality that he's a trusting person. You know what I mean? My husband is not a person that is thinking we are like, oh, they are. No. He's a trusting person, very down to earth, and never think that anything done to him is because of his race or because of anything. He's not like that naturally. So, and now when I see things happening, and I can't believe, I said, how could I was here when this thing in particular happened. How could not I be at the time so aware of it? You know what I mean? Like, I should have been more aware of many things that had happened in the last 20 years, But I guess I wasn't paying attention myself.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I wasn't getting the full information. Look, I wasn't looking for it. I should have been the one looking for it. Look, I have kids that are Black, so it was hard for me also. Right. That's the concept of the one drop Black is hard for me because it's like a negation of me as their mother. Mm-hmm. So I remember when I came and my daughter was little, and people with no bad intention just naturally referred to her like a Black child. And to me, it was like, so then what happened with me and my family? Then it's like I'm not the mother, which actually happens sometimes, that you were in the playground and they thought that she wasn't my daughter. Or, you know what I mean? And it's like a slap on your face. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I said, in their case, they have gone to very good colleges and they got a very good education. And it's painful when other people think that they have gotten it because they are Black.
Right.
Because it's like a negation of their intelligence or their abilities. It's like, oh, you got it easy because you are Black. Mm-hmm. What do you mean? No one is giving anything. You have to earn it. And look, and many things are done without a bad intention. It's just a lack of awareness of what's going on. Mm-hmm. And it brings me to one situation when the guys, they were in the public school in Forest Hills in the same district that I live in. And one day, around Martin Luther King Day, they came from school very, very scared, especially the little one. I think Marlon, the second one, he was like maybe 10, and the little one was 6 years old. And they were unable to go to the bathroom by themselves. Can you believe it? And I said, what's going on? What happened? With all the best intention in the school, they projected this video about Black discrimination and about in the Black History Month. And they were videos of one guy that was in the electric chair was killed, and another in the video. I know that because I went to school and I said, look, I need to see the video because my kids are very afraid. They are really, and I need to see what they saw because this is not, and in the video were like fires and the Ku Klux Klan
Oh,
with
wow.
process. And and they didn't understand how kids of 9, of this age, 9 and 6 years old, could be scared for something that they thought it was just presenting the history and denouncing, because they were not saying at all that that was okay. They were denouncing that it was not okay, and that we all had to really fight against racism. But in the middle of it, they were doing something that was also that they didn't have enough sensitivity to really feel and put themselves on the shoes of kids. That on top of that, in the school, there were very few kids that were blacks like them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that's what happened. You're looking for a house, you're looking for a good school district, and then what happened? Where do you end up? In a good neighborhood?
Mm-hmm.
How many black and brown people are in a good neighborhood?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's difficult. It's very difficult. And I don't see enough um, sensitivity towards these issues. And of course, when you have politicians talking the way that they are, when you see people, because before you could hear and you could think, oh, maybe he did something wrong and that's why the police killed him. But now you see it with your own eyes. I mean, you have a camera. It's so easy. You can see easily that the guy is trying to escape and run, and that the police is killing them. So how can you justify something like that? And there's still justification.
Right.
And there's still, I mean, how can anyone think otherwise? I don't get it.
I agree. I personally just agree.
I just don't get it. But it's very scary for families like us,
You're right.
because I know that my kids, and they are very good and very responsible, but other responsible and good kids are being killed also for being in the wrong place,
Yes.
in the wrong moment. And you have to be thinking, look, you cannot just think, okay, I'm going to live whatever I want. Now, I'm thinking on retirement. I'm thinking about, where do I want to live? You know what I mean? You're thinking about where are you, the implications. How is the society that you are going to be living in?
Yeah.
What is it? Is it going to be something that it could be a potential problem?
Right. That it'll be safe for your children to
Safe.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Is I don't have the answers, and I'm not, I don't want to leave. I'm not gonna, I mean, I'm not a person that um, quit. I'm not a quitter,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm not.
Yeah. It's been so amazing to talk to you. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure talking to you too, and maybe one of these are the kind of things that maybe cure you inside also.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So when I upload your interview to the Voces project, they just ask for a few pieces of information. I think I have it on your previous form, but I don't have that with me. I don't have access to it. So your current job title is, was it Associate Director of Pediatrics?
Yes, and director of the Ambulatory Pediatrics and Adolescent Clinic.
Of And how old are you, doctor?
Oh, I'm 58.
Okay. And you're currently at your office, right?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, thank you again. It's been fantastic talking to you.
Yeah. You know, talking about racism, I wish that I could show you the pictures that I have in my office, because these are pictures done by third graders in one of the schools in the neighborhood, and they asked the kids to draw their families.
Oh.
And in the drawing of the families is something that I just learned through those pictures, how third graders can be so, because some of the pictures, I mean, I saw the kids who draw the pictures because they came to the hospital to give it to us.
Oh, wow.
And they were all blacks. But some of the pictures, you see white people in the pictures. And others, you see different tones of skin. But some of them, you will say, how can the author say that that's, and of course, they didn't realize what they were doing. Third graders, I guess it was their wishes, what they wish their family was like.
Yeah, or the representation on TV, and it's just mostly white families. You know, any of the pictures that you did show me of the call center and your family and the pictures on the wall, if you want to take pictures of them with your phone and send them to me over email, I'll include them in your file.
Yeah.
It would be amazing to have that,
Mm-hmm.
because it's so related to so much of what we were talking about today.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll send you the picture of my mother and my father when they got married.
Ooh, I would love that.
But then I mean, I have it on my phone, the pictures.
Okay.
If you give me your phone, I'll send it to you in the phone.
Okay. That, tell me when you're ready.
Okay, let me give me your phone.
It's 503
Uh-huh.
383
Uh-huh.
2087.
87. Okay, so look. Okay, look, this is it. Okay. Look, 2 is of my immediate family. Then my brother is here with me in 2 of these pictures. This is one of the latest pictures of my father that likes to, he always offered candies to people. He always had little candies in his pockets, and, you know, for himself and for, okay, let me send you this. And then I'm gonna go to,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah, look, this is my brother when he was little, the one that passed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And let me see. I have so many, thousands of pictures on my phone. Oh, look, this is all my brothers and I. Like maybe 10 years ago was when this picture was taken, and he is between my sister and myself.
Okay. So you have 4 brothers?
Yeah.
1 sister. Wow.
And 1 sister. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much.
This is when I got married with my husband and my grandmother.
Oh,
But I want my parents here. Mhm.
did you get married in Spain or here
Yes,
in Spain?
oh, in Spain, yeah. This is, let me find, okay. Oh, that's me and my husband. Mm.
Oh, that's a great picture.
My parents are coming now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
They're a beautiful couple too.
yeah. There is one here. This is from the countryside. My parents,
Oh, wow. That is gorgeous.
it is. It's so peaceful.
What type of plant is that?
It's a vineyard.
Oh, is it wine grapes?
Fine, yes.
Mhm.
And this is like in the outskirts of my town. They have the windmills. And
Wow, that's amazing.
mm,
You know, I've only been to Spain once. I was in Barcelona about 3 years ago.
uh-huh.
Of course,
Yes.
I've been all over Latin America because of my work, but only to Spain once. It was amazing.
It's amazing. It's amazing. La Sagrada Familia, you really, I mean, there is nothing like that.
Hmm. I
I mean,
felt
the
like I
light,
was on another planet. It was
yeah,
amazing.
it is. I
Yeah.
mean, the light coming through the glass, um, the colors, it makes you feel you are in another world. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
This is my mother now. Like, this is 2 years ago, my mother. Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah. Anyway, I don't
oh,
want to send.
thank
I
you
mean, I
so
mean, it's enough. It's enough. Yeah.
Well, thank you again. And, you know, if you think of anything else that you want to share, feel free to email me. Now you have my phone and my email, so reach out anytime.
Okay. Yeah. You too.
Thank
Nice talking to you, really.
for me too.
And good luck with your job and everything you are doing.
Thank
And
you. I loved what you said about healthcare and education. And I feel, you know, being the most important things for a society to progress. And I feel exactly the same way. And that's why I love working at a public school, you know, public university for that same reason. So,
yeah,
yeah.
I have to leave already. I have. Sorry. Okay.
No problem. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.